and you are listening to Candidate Conversations on the WIDU Radio Network. I'm your host, Jay Reinstein, and with me today I have Richard Ojeda, running for U.S. Congress, North Carolina, District 9 as a Democrat. Welcome to Candidate Conversations, Richard.
Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. So if you could familiarize our listening audience, tell them a little bit about yourself.
Okay. My name is Major Retired Richard Ojeda. I am a proud Democrat running for Congress in North Carolina's 9th Congressional District. I have spent the majority of my adult life in North Carolina. The majority of my military career was spent at Fort Bragg. And when me and my wife decided to retire, we actually went back to southern West Virginia to be with our aging parents. And while I was there, I ran a nonprofit sending kids to school with new shoes on their feet, doing beautification events like removing tires from the creeks and things like that. And then I ended up starting to teach JROTC at the high school level for a few years. And eventually, I also ended up becoming a legislator, a state senator in West Virginia, where I got things done in a super minority because I know how to push legislation and I know how to get people to back my bills. But there come a time when my wife and I made the decision that we missed North Carolina and we wanted to come back home. And that's exactly what we did. And for the past 6 years, we have lived in Aberdeen, North Carolina, and we absolutely love this area. And to be honest, I never even decided to get back into politics until I started seeing the attacks on the Veterans Administration. And then I started doing some research and realizing that the representative that we have doesn't represent us. He doesn't put boots on the ground. He doesn't return phone calls. The majority of people in this district don't know what he looks like, and he's running for his 6th or 7th term. So that right there was enough to make me say, you know what, it's time to get in this fight, and that's where I'm at now.
Well, first of all, welcome back to North Carolina, and thank you for your service. Again, I'm talking to Richard Ojeda, running for U.S. Congress, District 9 as a Democrat. Let me ask you this. Where is the top issue, or what's really the top issue in this district that people have been telling you about as you're meeting with potential voters?
Well, look, there's a lot of issues that people are talking about. Number one, the data centers that I oppose wholeheartedly. People are talking about ICE and the potential for, we keep hearing about them talking about, like Steve Bannon said, we're going to put an ICE agent at every polling station. People are scared. People are worried that if they show up to vote, they could be snatched up off the street, given no due process, and end up in a gulag someplace in Central or South America. So, people are scared. But I will tell you that, a lot of the things that I'm really trying to focus on is I want to stand up and fight for the working class citizens. I would like to make the first $45,000 that you make to be tax-free. Let's give the working class people the opportunity to keep their nose above the waterline. I want to tie minimum wage to the cost of living so that if the prices go up at the store, the minimum wage has to go up so that a person working 40 hours a week making minimum wage, they're always going to be able to put food on the table for their families. Right now, minimum wage is $7.25 in North Carolina, and I know that I don't get to dictate how much people get paid in North Carolina, but there is legislation in Washington, D.C. that we can do to try to help the working class citizens, and I am more than willing to jump on board with things like that.
Well, thank you again, talking to Richard Ojeda, running for U.S. Congress, District 9. So if elected, or you could say when elected, what's one concrete thing you would want to deliver to your district in your first term?
Okay, so obviously there's things that I want to sign on to, like the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. I want to, just definitely, something that I think is important. Ending Citizens United is important to me. Fighting right-to-work legislation on the federal level is important to me. But I'm going to tell you the biggest thing that I can do for the citizens of the 9th Congressional District in North Carolina is to actually show up and put boots on the ground and listen to the people. Remember, this guy, Richard Hudson, is running for I believe it's his 7th term. And people don't even know what he looks like. They've never received a return phone call. I believe that leadership is active, and I believe that leadership is you're going to be able to see leadership, and that's what I'm going to bring to the table. When I'm not in Washington, D.C., I will absolutely carve out time to make sure that my constituents get to see me, get to speak to me. I want to have town halls, which is something that my opponent, Richard Hudson, completely canceled. He's the guy who told all the Republicans, stop the town halls because they don't have anything good that they can say. And I think that it's time that I bring that back to let the people of the 9th Congressional District know that I am available, I'm going to be accountable, and I'm going to be in their areas as often as possible.
Well, thank you so much. I hear that passion from you, Mr. Ojeda. So Congress, of course, we all know, has a reputation for gridlock. Not a lot is getting done. How would you be an effective representative rather than just another partisan voice?
Well, first off, we feel quite confident that we are going to take back the House of Representatives. We may even take back the Senate. But I'm going to tell you that even in a super minority, when I was in West Virginia, I got bills passed because I know how to push legislation and I know how to speak passionately about bills that convince people that that's the right path that we need to be on. So, that's something that I absolutely plan to do. And if I make it to Washington, D.C., and I'm in the majority, oh, my goodness gracious, we should absolutely be passing legislation that is something important, that's things that we've been fighting for quite some time. And I believe that we can do that. There's no reason why when we take back the majority that we can't end Citizens United. There's things that we can do. And Richard Hudson, if he wins re-election, there's no changes for the people of North Carolina. He doesn't represent us. He raises money for the Republican Party. That's what he does as the chair of the NRCC. If he loses this race, he's just going to go back to Washington, D.C. and do the same thing, raising money for the NRCC. So, I am absolutely ready to defeat him, go to Washington, D.C., and give the people of North Carolina's 9th Congressional District a voice that they have not had ever since Richard Hudson has taken office.
Thank you so much. Again, talking to Richard Ojeda, running for Congress District 9 as a Democrat in North Carolina. So is there a particular federal issue that really hits home locally in your district? And how would you address it in North Carolina?
Okay, so right now, remember, in my district is Fort Bragg. Yep. And I would say 3 of the counties in my district, which are the closest to Fort Bragg, are very, very heavily saturated with veterans. And right now, the Veterans Administration is under attack. Richard Hudson, he's the one that calls himself the veterans representative, but he sat silent and didn't say a word when Elon Musk was firing VA jobs. And then he voted yes on that big, horrible bill targeting 86,000 veteran jobs in the Veterans Administration. That could end up being our care in the community. It could end up shutting down our things like the Sanford PAC, which is where I'm sitting at right now in the parking lot, because as soon as we get off here, I'm going in there for an appointment. The Veterans Administration is under attack. And if you look at the things that they've recently posted, it is not even something they're trying to hide. They are coming after veterans. They're coming after our health care. And, these are the very people that beat the drums of war and absolutely love when they get to send us into harm's way. And it's about time we got somebody in office that's going to start fighting for the veterans and doing things to protect our veterans' health care. And I am that guy. I am absolutely that guy. Richard Hudson, for him to even call himself the veterans representative is a slap in the face to everybody who's ever put on a uniform and picked up a rifle and manned a post.
Well, I got to ask you a question. You hear the word accountability often. How would you personally, Richard Ojeda, stay accountable to the people of your district once you're in Washington?
I have told every single person in my district that has given me the opportunity to lend me their ear that I am accountable. I'm retired military. When I say boots on the ground, That's not just a saying. That means something to me. And I've told them, when I'm not in Washington, D.C., and I'm back here in North Carolina, I know that I'm going to spend a day or two with my family because, once again, it's my family. But I'm also going to absolutely carve out opportunities every single time that I'm back in this district in order to put boots on the ground in every single county. And I'm going to make sure that every single body knows when I'm in this area, I'm going to be setting up town halls, and I want to listen to everybody. I don't just want to listen to Democrats. I want to have Democrats, Republicans, independents, unaffiliated. Because if I win this race, and I'm going to win this race, every single person in this district is my constituent, and I deserve, and they deserve, the ability to get to hear me, to speak to me, and I'm going to go to Washington, D.C. to fight for each and every one of them. And that's accountability. Richard Hudson has no accountability. He's the one that said no more town halls because he don't have anything good to say. All he does is basically spew Donald Trump talking points. And you know what? The people of this area are starting to realize that he is absolutely non-existent. And we need somebody that's representing these people, and I plan to do just that.
Thank you, Richard. We have a final question. So, again, talking to Richard Ojeda, running for District 9, Congress, North Carolina. So why do you think you're the best choice for the seat compared to the other candidates, including Richard Hudson? I think you've answered a lot of that, but talk about just as a whole. Why are you the best candidate?
Well, number one, I have already served as a legislator. So I do know how to push legislation and get my bills passed because it's about passion. And make no mistake about it, there's a lot of things that I can talk about, that I can speak very passionately about, that both sides of the aisle can say, you know what, it's got a point. I will tell you that when I made West Virginia the 29th state to be legal for medical cannabis, I gave a speech and I held up 13 dog tags. And I said that medical cannabis cannot bring these people back, that medical cannabis can help those who see their faces and hear their screams when they go to bed at night. And I had Republicans stand up and say, because of what you just said, we're going to vote for your bill. And my bill become law. I'm the only one that is running on the Democratic ticket that's ever pushed and passed legislation. And as far as Richard Hudson goes, look, I'm going to be accountable. That is absolutely my number one priority when it comes to going against Richard Hudson, because he doesn't make himself accountable. All he does is spew Donald Trump nonsense, and the guy doesn't show up. He doesn't put boots on the ground. I've only seen him one time in the last year in this district, one time, and he showed up in front of a Christmas parade, and he took about 4 pictures of him waving to the crowd, and he disappeared. He didn't even walk the parade. So, you know, look, I'm going to be active. I'm going to be in everyone's face so they have the opportunity to be able to speak to me, to ask me questions, and to tell me what their problems are. Because I'm going to tell you another thing, too. As a person who has served as a legislator, there is nothing in this world that feels better than when you can solve someone's problems. And it is absolutely something that literally, it's like, you know, when your heart grows 3 times, you know, that's what it feels like when you do positive things for people that deserve to be represented. And I am looking forward to being able to accomplish those tasks.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Richard Ojeda, running for District 9, Congress as a Democrat. Really appreciate you taking the time with us today on Canada Conversations.
Well, let me tell you something. I look forward to coming back on your show as often as possible. And if I win this, make no mistake about it, I'll be accountable to you too.
How do people get a hold of you, Richard? Is there a website? Give out that social media information.
We have the Ojeda4NC.com, and it's FOR, not the number 4. Ojeda4NC.com. Check it out. Check out our stances. Let me tell you something. I'm the only one that has a team that is active. I'm the only one that has a team that has victories under their belt in senatorial races, presidential races, and congressional races. And we are the only team that is ready to go nose to nose with Richard Hudson on March the 4th.
Thank you so much. And you've been listening to Canada Conversations on the WIDU Radio Network. I'm your host, Jay Reinstein. Until next time, have a great day.